Hello and welcome. It is the 12th day of September 2019. My name is Derek, and this is the Money Charts channel, where, like always, all bets, trades, and of the like is within each his own risk and their own reward, that is. And for myself, and I got to do better at this. Risk reward management is job number one. I'm going to explain why. I did the wrong thing last night. I think we'll get into it. All right, so we're going to start off with this Bitcoin against gold. I've been meaning to show this like almost every day, but we're pretty much, or most days, either being a crypto or a precious metal video. 6 3/4 almost is the price for Bitcoin, priced in ounces of gold, with the longer term time frame in nothing more than a spectacular uptrend against the US dollar, and at 10,200 and in a spectacular uptrend as well. Really not much of a difference amongst those two charts. On the daily chart, continuation of staying within this range, and for the most part in the lower end of this range. But still, it hasn't broke down, and until it breaks below these key supports, then we're not having that big breakdown. And whenever you have key support taken out, even if it's just hit once and it happens to be at a key area, and you take it out, yeah, big move lower. And you hit it multiple times, it's almost like 9 times out of 10, or 8.8 times out of 10, where you break down below this, maybe even 9.5 times out of 10. You're going to have a significant move below, which in layman terms means breaking down below 9,000, expected to go several $100s relatively fast, if not over 1,000. Okay, now as far as where we see on it with the daily, down to the 18 average of lows, and then the 18 average of highs comes in here to 10.4. So I really need to see it around 10.6 area for me to have full high probability odds for price action to be having some very good gains in the very near term. Until then, it's really not much more I can say. It's as far as the next little bit in here, I really couldn't tell at all given how the conditions are right now. Looking at this on the single hour term or short term analyses, well, on the decline, this was most certainly the decline. So from the end of it, we've got multiple hit bottoms in here. We established this short-term level of resistance that supported piercing below in here, which also pierced below the 18 lows and correcting there. Okay, well, what's happened after that? Well, we've already obviously established this level of resistance that right now it is microscopically taken out and has pierced back to near the highs of and a little bit below now. But we have this green candle up, and three that just did all this in here. We have 45 minutes left in this single hour, so we're pretty much nicely into this period. Usually by the quarter to 1/3 mark, which is 45 to 40 minutes left, you should develop I like to say, the meat of the candle, or the good understanding of how it's going. And with that being said, I do see that this is showing me a nice little break getting out above that area. Let me switch this up to the tether so I can take a look at this on a more shorter term basis. I haven't looked at the short term charts yet, but everything else within this video I have planned out completely for what's going to be going through. We're going to look at some of the top gainer of the day. Binance Coin is most certainly going to be looked at as well, and another crypto altcoin. I'm also going to talk about silver, and Wabi I think is being shown as well. Alrighty then, so we have this level of resistance in here. Oh, I've already talked about that. Duh. I just changed the chart and I'm like, oh yeah, I've already done that. So 4 minute. Well, I guess there's the two levels of resistance hitting here. So this is me doing this raw, or just looking at this for the first time, processing what I'm seeing in here. So what you really need to see, because it really did resist this area here and even in here, is for it to spend a significant amount of time holding and staying above this line. Why this line? Well, it resisted here, it resisted here, it really resisted here, it resisted this, it pierced above it for a failed move here, and it resisted it there. And it has managed, of course, to get above that line to go here. So we're 4 minute period. We're like 4 or 5 periods into it. You can multiply it by 20 for the 1 minute, 20 minutes or so. So far, so good. It's established very short-term resistance amongst that level. And as far as like giving it benefits of the doubt towards the bad side. Breaking down below here is most certainly not what I would deem to be a reversal or looking to even be cautious on the downside. But it would end the amazing, okay, I mean, if it can get back up there, but this thing may not transpire. If it does, I still love it, but the odds this thing just starts to have a great move, breaking this 10-2 area, probably making it to 10-3 and change, is not as strong. But it wouldn't say, okay, we're going much lower in here. Not when we've had a move like this. This is one of the main things in here is holding and staying above this little level here. If we see weakness at around the high level of 10,000, between 10,000 to 10,100, that's where I would get concerned. And price action breaking down below this low in here, that's when I would get ultimately concerned that we will just have another test at the lower end of the 9,000, like 9,003, 9,004, 9,001, any of those lower levels. I would be considering that would be in store if, of course, that comes into place. And some levels of resistance on the way up, 10,006, and then this little area in here. Yesterday morning, I did a gold and silver, precious metal and cryptos video together. I looked at it earlier. I'm like, yeah, there's not much to go on with gold and silver. This is where I have it. But gold's up 1.3 now. What's silver up now? Silver was up 1.8, 1.7, and I thought gold was like 0.7. This is like 10 minutes ago. I haven't even protest. Okay, protest. I processed the silver chart yet, so I'm going to make that a separate video. But it's up pretty good right now. But as far as where we want to go next is that on, well, first off, Bitcoin dominance. And I haven't looked at this, but I pretty much know what to expect and where we are on this. So that wasn't planned, but now, I mean, the internet's been working so great. Now it's slow as anything. There we go. And within it, okay, correctionary phase still doing its thing. It's got to get above like 72 and 2/3, but it's not that too far away. And if it does start, small reason for concern around here, but realistically, if I'm looking for reversal in one of these trends, I'm going to have to use maybe even the 3-day term time frame now. It's had such a beautiful run in here. And that would be now looking for a test of the 18 lows right now in at about 70. Well, actually 70 and change, it is rising. 70.3 it says now. Now as far as what some of the top gainers are, at least as far as just a quick look at, these are just where the coins I trade within the ratio. Go is getting its ass kicked, and I'm looking right now to buy a couple of things with Go, but I want to wait for this market to either go down more, I would suppose, or go other coins go up. I'm not going to cover this for today's video. I did yesterday, and I even showed a short-term analysis. This thing is still moving wildly. Its big volatility hasn't stopped really much at all. And the top gainers on here, well, Komodo's up 4. Okay, not bad, but nothing really seems to be up much. So as we can see, most things not doing so well against the dollar, against the Bitcoin, and even against the dollar at that, because Bitcoin's only up 0.5%. And when we go to Binance Coin, and I really kind of didn't want to show it by percentage move first, but I first wanted to show Bitcoin, Binance Coin against Bitcoin, which is currently in at 201. Move it to the daily. And back before this was breaking down, I stated, you know what, we should pierce below 2079. It's a key Fibonacci level. And so far, it did find short-term and barely any intermediate-term support. And it managed to come up to this level, do all this consolidation, catching up to the 18 average of highs, but it rejected it in yesterday's session. And going through this previous key level of fib and previous low. So I'm just going to put a line there. I'm going to delete it soon in time, not the one above it. But let me just quickly go through this on the 8-hour. Well, there we see band declining, all this flattening stuff up, and significant move. And this is that spot I state, well, what are we going to do here? Do we just congest here for a bit? Do we come up, maybe test the previous level in the 18? Or do we have a significant leg lower? Well, significant leg lower was the answer on this case. And it now has just in this period come back to where we came from. Let's go to the single hour. and it looked like this. And within it, we can see that from this move, big leg, and then the big correctionary move. And big deal that it got above this support, but overall, it's made an attempt to stop it. And most of the times after something like this happens, after your first correctionary support test here, do all this, come back, I don't like the odds too much. Maybe it might spark another little quick rally and lower high at near the 210 mark, even up to 212, but I even don't like that over the fact that this might have to consolidate through time or price a little further. And I'm still not suggesting that the key Fibonacci at the 2079 is a failure. Because when we do look at this from, and actually the weekly doesn't do the justice here, 3-day totally does though. From this key low to this key high, it's only been 4 periods in here. And it's now just pierced a little bit extra. And it could easily pierce a little bit extra down to even lower little bit areas, even down to a 76.4 correction, which would approximately be around 171, and somewhere in that ballpark area. And then you're going to have this much bigger level from the 1483 handle to this one here. And at this stage, just even looking at this, if we're not going to be supporting in this area, we really got to be thinking that long term, if it doesn't hold, the next key level is 139 down to the 125. So now let's go back to this list of all of these coins. And a lot of them, I'm like, I look at them like, I don't want to play it. The volume is too low, and it costs me a little bit to play low volume. And what do you mean it costs you to play low volume? And I literally mean price. It literally costs me like cryptos or double fees. And the reason why is I got all these coins, and let's just presume there's a coin like Ren or something. I don't know. Actually, Ren I think is pretty good on it. Maybe something with very low volume. What you'll notice is that 2 things will happen for me, and I'm only playing a small amount. And I've showed it before, only once I think, but I'll show it again. And this price is most certainly outdated. But what this is I started off here with 9.4 BNB at the end of the month, which is like only a couple $100, and just seeing what I can bring this number up to. I got it up to 10.47, then bad day for the 6th and 7th into this in here, and even down for a few days. This day in here I was all BNB, and then I was like, yeah, make a little trade. Yesterday I managed to get a small gain to bring it back up, but it should have been a bigger one. Risk reward management, I should have probably considered taking the higher aggressive play, because I found 2 things that I wanted to play yesterday, one of low risk and one of high risk. But before getting there, I want to get back to the point I was making before about playing. And let me just bring up one that I don't like. Do I have Loom on here? Okay, well, let's just add that one in, because Loom would not have big volume. So obviously I didn't plan on talking about this actually. So even when I try to plan on talking about something, I wasn't planning on talking about this exact subject. But I am now, though. So you say we're going to here. Let's look at this on the 1 minute, because then I can pretty much figure out this in here. We got trade 803, 808, trade 817. So this doesn't trade too often. And even if it does, a lot of times it'll trade for a small volume. Even for a $200 player, actually, which is kind of interesting. So now I might want to get into something. Okay, I'm going to buy about 170, 180, 150, 160 of whatever. And I'm going to look on the exchange. I'm going to see Loom is like maybe has a bid ask right now of 1187 and 1179. And if I buy at 1187, I'm only going to fill a third of my order, and so many of these things. And if I put a buy order in, one, I'm going to probably might get a partial fill. I might not get filled. And and a lot of times I'll get it filled when the actual price cross against Bitcoin goes down. And that's not what I want either. So it's something I don't want to do is really buy and sell in here, at least when I'm trying to quote unquote force buy or get into a position. So rather to get into it, like if there's a coin in here that I like, but it's at low volume, but I know that this is a matter of division, and this will go up and down based on what's going on within the actual market. Because if I were to say have positions of this and have a sell order in at 1260 or 1270, then really one of two things is going to happen for me for these executions. And one time it might not execute, but that's rare, but most of the times these will in the spots of one. Somebody on Binance Coin just wants to buy it aggressively. They don't mind overpaying it, and you get more than it's worth, meaning they'll buy it up to 1260 when it was actually only worth 1244 or whatever. They'll just get those times where someone just buys crazy. Maybe they'll buy it up to 1350 just because they buy they want to buy like whatever's available to that price, and that's because that's what they can afford. And then you get your big fill that way, and it's like an artificial move, but only pays. Okay, so those comes in. But if the real market of Loom against BTC starts tearing up, then really what it comes down to is taking one divided by this price against Bitcoin. No, excuse me, throw that out. Erase that part. Take the Binance coin against Bitcoin. Take that divided by 1 divided by 0.002, and then whatever that number comes into. And then you multiply that number by the Bitcoin Satoshi price against, well, in this case, it'd be Loom. So we can do that actually right now. Let's go back in and put get the BNB, see what the exact number is. We got, well, 002 is fine. So what we'll put in here is 002, and I'll push the 1x button, which is 500 to 1. So now we take that 500 and we have the price point. I mean, actually, well, it's 1187, but let me just take Loom versus BTC in here. It's 238. So if I multiply that, I know the fair price would be the 119 handle. Okay? So that's where it is. So if I can buy it at 1187 and see it there, then that's fine. And that's something you can do with these markets, is try to find whatever small deals you can get here and there. And even that's what you can do, is let people get deals off of you because of that exact fact. If the ratio comes in later on, you got a seller at say 1270. If the fair price goes to 1285ish or so, then it's just automatically going to always work for you, and your orders are going to hit when you're way there or sleeping there or doing this or doing that. So that's but if I wanted to say get into something where I can't, I get a bad price here, then I'm going to have to sell my Binance coin for Bitcoin or US dollar or whatever I'm going to buy the next one with, and then use that to buy it with. So I'm going to make two trades to enter my position. And if I, same thing to get out, maybe I might, if I want to get this back into BNB at the end of the day or at some point, then I'm going to have to sell it for Bitcoin and then buy the BNB. So I was deciding last night, what do I want to play? And it came down to two choices. I got a lot of different codes in here. Not all of them. And as far as some of the percentage movers, not because Binance Coin, well, what's it down for the day? Because we've seen Bitcoin is not doing as well. But Binance Coin 1.5. So everything's just got a little bit. But you see this big one here at 24. And that's the best one. Wabi's at 15. And ICX is 8. We're going to be showing you these three. But last night, there were two I was considering. The safe play, which unfortunately I did choose, would have been that of BNB USDT. I got in at 20 3/4, which would have been, let's now go to a different time frame. Let's do hour. So 20 3/4 was, as it was breaking down on this point here. To me, I was looking at this and I'm thinking, As it was leaving this 18 average, we're going down. So I thought this most likely will come in and has a lower volatility. I put my first buy order in at 20, and then I had ones lower. And then I exited my position earlier today about 2040 or 2050 or something, so small gain. And what I was considering also instead was BCPT, up 25% since yesterday. Now, around that same time, we were looking at the price doing in this. So this was looking damn good for me at 20, and then I see now at 23, so be it. I put this on much higher risk because here we see this thing that could easily fall to like 16, 16.30. But as far as what I mean about risk reward management, and this is where you just figure, okay, yeah. Why did I screw this up? Who cares if I took that risk? It was $200. You could just play the game out because you want to try to build almost nothing into something. Excuse me, and it's all a relative term of what nothing and something is. But you might pretty much want to turn close to nothing into close to a lot more than something. And of course, two ways of doing that: one, Binance coin going higher, which is, I think, yeah, a good reason to use that as one of the coins because I think I can. And number two, for that of, well, what can I trade along the side to make that number of near 10 go to like 20, 30, 40? And if I want to get that number up more aggressive, then I almost got to take high risk, high reward. Especially if I lose a bit, I'm like, yeah, I'll just up my account, something that technically I already have the funds for anyway. So I probably should have played this. Now, what realistically would have happened was I would have looked at my sell order strategy and I would have been like, okay, first of all, the obvious sell point is around 24. Obvious would be around here. And that would not have hit. I would have easily, I could tell you right now, without even, because I didn't buy it, I didn't think of where I would have sold, but I know I know me. And I would have put a sell order here, and then I probably would have put one at around 21 high. So I would have woke up to a sell order fill at 21.9, and then the price here at this upper range. But as this market is playing out right now, extreme volatility. This low here of 12.7 up to this high, down to this low, up to this high, up to this low. I mean, I'm thinking I probably should just buy into this one. I didn't choose this one just because the one I like seemed more immediate of a break and not as overextended. But the 3 days in here, wow, this is just magnificent in here. It does look as if we're going to extend this further, at least to this 36, 37. And I mean, here I'm not playing it, but it does look really interesting. But most certainly you're playing extreme high risk and extreme high reward with markets amongst this nature. This is just an interesting one. And one of the reasons I don't want to play this is because where we are. We're at the 18 lows and up to here. But when you look at this on the hourly, what did just happen? Ooh, wow. Now, it's up to extended. It's up to this key point. I think if I was to want to enter this, I'm thinking, okay, this is an interesting play. Calculate maybe 61.8% Fibonacci and so on and so forth. And of course, I want to see more. I think the better analysis for Fibonacci retracement for where you would buy if I were to buy this is I would take this market either against the dollar or the Bitcoin. And then I know it's doing the same sort of deal here. I'm going to look for its 61.8% down move. And whenever it pierces to like a 63, 64% move, then I would want to become a buyer if I was to play this strategy. But I'm not. But yeah, what an interesting wild move that has just occurred. Now, what I did get into this morning was ICX, and I bought it right around that 10 number. So I'm pretty much even at this stage. I have a buy order here ready to go at this previous level, and I have a sell order, a small sell order ready to go at that level there. So an alert tell me if it happens. As we look at this on the hourly term time frame, we have just nice little volatility that came in, high moves, came up to this point, down to the 18 average of closes area. Now we had the last period get above the 18 average of highs, pull back to it. This one so far in here, which is 40 minutes into it, has managed to go, leaving the 18 average from this move in here. 15-minute term time frame. price action did come back in here. So within this, it's going to look good to me, at least on the daily term. This is why I thought, okay, I like how this is breaking out of the daily. I really, really do. I'm hoping that I can hit some of my higher sell orders, which really go up near about this 12 number, and maybe, let me just clarify that. What I do is I got a quarter up around here and here, and then quarter at 1287. Oh, excuse me, half of what's left. Excuse me, half of what's left here, and then the other remaining half at 1387 right now. But hitting this sell order, I'm probably going to readjust orders here and there. That's just for the situations in which it does happen to do it in a fast move within 20 minutes or 2 hours if I'm gone. And I also realized, well, where do I think within the day this can go up to? And you never know. I mean, could it hit 12.7? Sure. But unlikely, yeah. But I do like this setup. All right, now to end this video, because I'm trying to think. I don't have anything else that I try to think of, was there? Oh, yeah, the one thing I wanted to comment on. Yeah, there was a comment, but there's no chart for it. As of about 17 minutes ago, when I looked at Binance's top Bitcoin gainers, there is only one coin that has had a 25% gain and up at least 5 Satoshi. And I say up 5 Satoshi because when a coin goes from like 3 to 4 or 2 to 3, those don't count. But this is the only coin that's had a gain of that type of nature. So, okay, markets aren't doing anything spectacular yet so far today. And there is no big gainer, 47, oh, 40, no, 70, 80, 100, 200% type of daily mover yet for today. I will finish this video by giving you my raw silver analysis of today's session. I haven't looked at the market since yesterday. It was up like 1.78% just a few minutes ago. Gold's up 1.67. I think that's up too. The gold to silver ratio, is gold leading the charge here in the last few minutes? Okay, daily chart for silver, yada yada, doing its thing off of the 18 lows. Nice little break here above the hourly. You can see here how it just like yada yada'd it. And then nice move at 7 o'clock up to this little area. And I had to have done this because, yeah, this is 7:45. I was up well before then. And I'm looking at this and, yeah, silver's not even worth looking at yet. And then I finished my Bitcoin analysis. I quickly look at silver, like, holy crap, it's doing something. But gold might be an interesting aspect for the day. I know the 4-minute, 1-minute don't look too good on here. Well, usually, I mean, good enough. Okay, so gold, what's it doing? It might be, I mean, it's up 1 2/3. Big move on the daily to the 18 highs. And I mean, I should have noticed it by looking at the number, but up to its Fibonacci level, Fibonacci mark of 1522. Yeah, this thing, the gold to silver ratio must be going up right now on the short term. Yeah, 1 hour, like nice move. Double move, of course. Percentage-wise, 2/3, and right now 3/5. 17 minutes remaining in the hour. It got going here at 7:45. I mean, how key of a level was this? Not too key. It was just very short-term resistance. The big key level was really getting above between 1497 and 1500. And it never even came back to that 15 number. That's that interesting concept again. 1501 even was the high. What was the low here? I mean, it didn't come close. Well, actually, it did. 1501.3. High 1501.02. It didn't pierce below it, though. And one of the things, if I notice it fails to come back to areas where it comes from, this is what you need to expect a lot of times. I mean, that just tells you, okay, hey, wait a second here. Normally, sellers come a little more aggressive or buyers don't wait yet. Wow, that's a nice little short-term move on that sense. And then let's just look at this on the 1 minute. This thing really got going at about 7:46, but it just hasn't stopped. You can see how silver's not continuing up run like this. So most certainly the gold to silver ratio is going higher, and I know the 1 minute doesn't work on it. In fact, I'll show you how bad it looks if I put the 1 minute on. It's just terrible. I don't know why I can't figure it out. It's dots. It's all these dots. I think the 4-minute is dots as well, but not the 15. It's not really going up too much, really. I mean, it's 82.17. It's just this choppy action more than anything. But interesting failed breakdown within a choppy market. I don't know if it means much here. You got this level of support in here, and this is when you look at this. This is like looking at a dysfunctional market trading system. How the heck does? Of course, the volume is dysfunctional. It's always the same. Whatever. Let's just discard that. But if you want to think about how this would work in the real world, and I mean, this is just ratio, this is just math calculations and computers doing its division. I do get that. But if this was to be real, that means what would have happened at 9 o'clock? That means the open was 82,282 and the close 82,446, which marks the highs. That means nobody sold it down that minute until the first minute because the last close was here. So someone would have opened it. They would have to sold it down to this point, and then it would have ended that minute here, closing here. The next minute, or the next 15 minutes rather. Yeah, this just makes it even more sick that it's not the minute time frame, but so for the next trade would have been someone buying it all the way up to this point in here, and then hardly coming down at this, doing nothing really for 15 minutes, staying in this range, meaning selling down to here, and then buying back up to this point. And then open, someone would have bought it down here at 18 on this candle here. Someone would have bought it there. So it just obviously it makes no sense. But what has happened though is there was a short-term breakdown here that has managed to go to the upper end of this range. I can't believe I'm spending all this extra time. Didn't plan on it, obviously. There's a lot of things I didn't plan on it in a video. I highly planned shown video. Interesting. But the hour there, you can see it's attempting to make that move up. And yeah, the hourly time frame, that's exactly the type of candle I guess I was expecting. But what does this all mean for the short term and intermediate term and all that stuff? Okay, I guess I removed the fib line. There was a fib line that I had in here, whatever, on it though. Okay, so obviously I've been talking a lot about this key move down, correctionary phase. Keys move down. It's still in that correctionary phase. It's established this level of resistance. It hasn't attempted to test it yet. It's attempting to attempt that though. If it get above the 18 average of highs, that's what it would do. But within its move, it did support this little area here. It did not. I mean, this is way too low to expect to come back to here. I mean, it still could, and it can even come do a matching or an or over 100% retracement. But it's in that little correctionary mode. Getting above here, I don't get too excited because getting above here, like I state, means moving a move here, making a move here, maybe upgrading established resistance somewhere above 84 to 85, and thus maybe starting to do a sideways correction. As of course this was that sideways correction in here, and it didn't upgrade resistance in here. But what it could have done is it could have did this, and that's just a form of like, okay, so now of course originally I'd have this line here, and that never would have changed. In fact, there would have been lower lines like this. But if something like this were to happen, I would have then said, okay, now the range difference is between 89 and 2/3 to 70 and 2/3, or 90 and 2/3 rather. In a situation like this, if you see the correctionary phase, as I mentioned, getting above the 18 average of highs isn't too exciting because even at that, maybe you might even make a lower high to 85. But breaking the 18 average of lows in a situation where we've already had two mega down slot moves like this, if you go into here, down, and go into here, then you break below here, I would highly be suspecting, or not thinking. I definitely wouldn't be a buyer at 79. That would be another way of putting it. And if I was to play this market as buyer seller level, if anything, if I were to be shorting something like this, I'd maybe cover a little bit of it and then cover more down below, stuff like that. Alrighty then. I'm going to end this video. I'll put the Bitcoin chart up. But for me, it's just going to be another day, another 9,807 Satoshi. And I'm going to do another gold and silver video, but I'm gonna wait a little bit to see what happens from the move and see where we go from the short-term play. Market opens at 9:30 a.m. That's 8:49. So I'll definitely wait until well after then and just see what might come out there after the fact. And I'll entitle it Cryptos with Bonus Silver at the end. But you already knew that because you already read that. Bye bye.